There are two cases on the agenda involving due cause. One is, if I may identify them. Number 15 is Northside LLC, DBA Northside Food Mart. Number 16 is Room Service Lounge LLC, DBA Room Service Lounge. And we had made a decision that these two cases should be held. My understanding is that there is pending legislation on the City Council Public Safety agenda that may or may not revise, depending on passage or amendments, the present provisions regarding penalties and perhaps other issues related to due cause cases in the city of Atlanta. And it was a position of the law department that these cases should be held pending possible revisions of the code.
So just to be clear, there was an existing code. There have been changes to the code, which have been just put in effect, have just been promulgated and passed, and I think are in effect now.
Right.
So the issue is, if the offense occurred under the old sanctioning guidelines, should it receive the old sanctions, or should it receive the new sanctions, given the fact that the new sanctions were implemented after the offense took place?
Beyond that, I think part of the question is the changes in the severity of the penalties is perhaps subject to possible revision moving forward, and
but that's not the core. The core question is
no, it is the question. Yes, because if we follow the present penalty system and it's later revised, this could lead to possible legal issues and court proceedings. And the thought is it's better to wait until January, as I understand it.
How about the statute of limitations on these?
No, those, I don't believe that's an issue.
I know Councilmember Bond is here, and I know he has some thoughts on this, and I know he's put a lot of work into the ATAG recommendation, so Councilmember, if you want to weigh in with a few comments?
Yes, I respectfully disagree with the opinion of the law department. I think you need to move deliberately and with all deliberate speed on each one of these issues under the current law. The law that is pending is just that. It's pending. It might pass before the end of the year. It might not pass before the end of the year. But yet bad actors who are in need of the discipline of this board are getting off for those additional days and weeks. I'm here in support of a community on one of these issues tonight. They've been granted continuance after continuance after continuance. Much under the same kind of legal theory. And I would personally like to see you all drop an anvil on top of them and implement the law that's on the books now. The paper that's held in public safety to do the revisions is just that. It's held. Ms. Emmons knows, I mean, the paper has maybe a 50-50 chance of passing, on any given day, depending on the mood of the members of the council who are seated there at the committee table. And we only have one more committee meeting and one more council meeting. So if we don't get that particular paper out, everyone that you all consider postponing, they get new life to operate poorly in our city and continue to do the damage to the community at large that they're accused of doing. So I would hope that you all would act deliberately on all matters that are coming before you and would met out your brand of justice swiftly and as strongly as you can.
You'll recall that our community showed up earlier this year while this licensee appeared for a separate charge. and was told at that point that the due cause proceedings would follow. We've been waiting patiently. We've been showing up for meeting after meeting where this case has been continued and continued for various reasons. I agree with Michael Bond that at some point, sooner rather than later, we need to, this body to make a judgment and deliberate and make a judgment on this case. It's water under the bridge at this point regarding tonight's proceedings and the continuance. However, I must strongly state my position that this case really should not and need not be continued again. It's been, I'm sorry? Which one? Oh, it's the room service lounge case, item number 16 on the agenda. Again, this will be the third continuance of this case, and the community is just losing faith in our system, and y'all have the opportunity to act on it and deliberate on it, as Michael has said, and I hope you will do that and resist and reject any further requests for continuance.
Councilman Vaughn, you're aware that we just recommend to the mayor, and the two of you, Councilman Bond as well, you have the real power to get things done. We can deliberate, but we just send it to the mayor with a recommendation, and which is a conundrum because, I mean, obviously we agree with you, but we also are not lawyers and we don't have legal standing, and we would just be sending it to the mayor for then some action over across the hall. Whether he would do it or not, he'd have to come back and talk to you.
The challenge here is that the mayor has nothing to act on until he receives a recommendation from this board. And this board has the authority to grant or reject a request for continuances and to be able, by rejecting it, be able to deliberate and act. So until that action happens, then we can't.
So essentially you're asking us to get something happening.
Correct.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Good evening, Amber A. Robinson, Senior Assistant City Attorney. As my colleague, Mr. Schultz, so eloquently presented, I agree that due to the issues discussed regarding the pending legislation, which I will decline to discuss in more detail due to not wanting to reveal legal strategy, as well as due to the fact that the appellant requested this continuance and has expressed the fact that they will not be in attendance, nor is appellant's counsel. We do not oppose the continuance. We did, in fact, consent to it in this instance. We are not prepared to go forward with the case in light of these facts.
So you are not prepared to hear this tonight?
We are not at this time prepared to hear this tonight. I don't know if you said were.
No, I said you were not prepared at this time to hear this.
We are not prepared at this time.
And I've been the License and Permits Chair for NPUF for, I've lost count, probably 6 years, and I was chairperson for 6 years prior to that. But what I realized in studying that code was that so many of the problems that we see in our community has a solution in the code that is there now. What is missing is the lack of will from this body to enforce the code, and from legal at this city to enforce the code, and in some instances our mayor in the city to enforce the code. This is a business that has had multiple shootings, both inside the lounge and outside. They've had selling to minors. They've had after hours, and I'm not talking about one or two. I'm talking about multiple. And you tell me how a community can have faith in this city, and you as a board, and our mayor, when you allow this kind of shenanigans to go on. You tell me.
That's good.
Yeah, we understood that the issue with presenting tonight, but what we're hoping to ask for is that when it is rescheduled, that they are denied. If they ask for a continuance, that they are denied. Today, the business owners supposedly in Miami. The time before that, they were out of the country. So in December, if they claim to be on the North Pole, that you all will deny them a continuance and act on the case so that the community can have some relief.
I couldn't agree with you more, Councilmember Bond. I mean, I think this rope-a-dope is very frustrating, but I think it'll come to an end.
I mean, the law that's on the books now is the law
Yeah, well,
until it's changed, and if it's not changed on December the 2nd, and even if it is,
it'll be what it is.
that is what the law will be.
It'll be what it
I
is.
hope that you will act.
Good evening, Amber A. Robinson, Senior Assistant City Attorney. Based upon the assertions that I've already made before this board and that Mr. Schultz has described, I believe the appropriate time to bring forward this and any pending due causes would be the second meeting of December.
Can we be comfortable that will happen? I mean, obviously, the community is beyond frustrated. What can we do to answer what
I mean,
their true frustrations are?
Pursuant to Councilmember Bond's request to this board, I will reiterate it. If this is rescheduled for the second meeting of December and they ask for another continuance, I will publicly oppose the continuance.
Okay, can we be very, 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 very clear about that?
I can be as clear.
I mean, they could be, I mean, if they're just not choosing not to appear is causing all of this, I mean, it's just a very slick tactic from a bunch of scoundrels. And they obviously this is infecting their community. And
I think we hear the community loudly and clearly.
Yeah.
And I was of the mind at the last meeting when this issue came up that we'd go ahead and move forward, but I was overridden or outnumbered, so to speak. But I think we go forward. I will recommend, I might not be the chairperson on that December 17th meeting, which is when this will probably be heard, but I think we go forward with the sanctions as they are today and let them sort it out if they don't want it. But I think that's not for us to decide. We are bound by the sanctions that are existent today, and that's what we're going to use, in my opinion.
I recommend that we hold these two items until the second meeting in December, which would be the 16th or 17th.
That would be...
Can I amend that to say we hold it and then absolutely we'll go forward?
I don't think
we can do, I don't think we have the authority to do that.
I don't know what their attorney might do, too. You know, there again, Ms. Robbins is kind of trapped, too. We can't be absolute about this.
I think the correct procedure would be for it to be placed on the calendar, or the agenda, excuse me, for the second meeting in December. The police department will notify the lawyer for the licensee that the police department will oppose any requests they may have for continuances. Then, if they were to request another continuance, they would have to appear before this board and ask this board for a continuance in light of the police department's objection, which I would make. At that time, the board would then deliberate and determine whether or not to grant the continuance or not.
That's the proper way.
Okay, so...
In your hands.
Restate that.
We have a
Motion.
half a motion. We don't have...
Okay, I understand. Now, go ahead.
I recommend that we hold these two due causes until the second meeting in December.
Second.
That's numbers 15 and 16, North Side and Room Service Lounge.
North Side and Room Service Lounge.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
But you understand the frustration? Because what's going to happen is, we'll have another continuance. This is number 3. We started out with 25 people from the community coming down here, and now we're a small group, because we're burned out, and we know you're not going to do anything about it.